Hi guys, it's Joe Tommaso from the 15 Minutes With podcast. Our show is geared toward helping to keep not only teens but people in general out of our jails and prisons. Our show is unique in the fact that we use real inmates throughout the country and they explain not only about the cases that caused their incarceration, but why it's so important for people to stay out of prison and remain free. Speaking of free, have you heard about the newest and best way to put your podcast out there for the world to hear? Let me tell you about Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to produce and distribute your ideas, your podcast, and the best part, it's free. There's even a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you so people can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other listening platforms. You can even make money from your podcast, and there are no minimal amount of listeners required. Anchor is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and get started.
Hey everybody, and thanks for listening. I am so glad that you guys could be with me today for this edition of 15 Minutes With. This is Joe Tommaso. Our guest today is going to be Arnold Brown. Arnold Brown is in the California Department of Corrections. He's done time at San Quentin, Calipatria, Folsom and Soledad. He's been incarcerated on and off since 1986. Arnold was also featured in the series Letters from Calipatria. If you'd like to help me keep this show going and like to see it get better, please by all means donate to paypal.me/Joe Tommaso. That is paypal.me/JoeTomaso. And if you have any suggestions, comments, or there's somebody you'd like to see me interview, please email me at insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. Again, that email is insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. Or you can snail mail me at P.O. Box 162, West Haven, Connecticut 06516. Let's get on with the show.
Hotel link.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Joe.
Hey, who am I speaking to again?
My name is Arnold. I'm an associate of Hollywood. I've worked on a project with him at a previous prison. He recently told me about your podcasting work, and I would like to offer myself to you as a resource if you need another resource.
Can you give me your name again and tell me where you're calling from?
Okay. First name is Arnold, last name Brown, and I'm calling from Richard J. Donovan.
Correctional Center, right? And that's in California?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other than R.J. Donovan, have you served anywhere else? Have you served time anywhere else in California?
Yes, I have.
Okay. How many places? Where were they?
A minimum of 11 prisons.
Okay.
And if you wanted a list of them, did you want me to give you some names?
Well, just kind of a couple of names of where you've been and stuff, yeah.
Okay. Well, some of the more well-known ones like Calipatria, San Quentin, Folsom, Soledad.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about some of the prisons that you've been in before today. I'm trying to basically, let people know that prison's not what you see on TV and shows like Lock Up and 60 Days In. I want them to get to know the real situation being in prison.
Right. Oh, okay, well, the previous prison I was at prior to here was Centinela, which is one of the desert prisons near Calipatria, which I was also at that prison, where there was a lot of involvement in self-help groups, as well as people participating in a variety of different religious services as well. It was actually one of the more quieter prisons, problem-wise. Although I've been to a lot of prisons, the previous prison, it was unreal, so to speak. It was unheard of to hear people getting into fights, let alone having problems with drugs or alcohol.
That's a plus. So, were you ever in any prisons where they actually had any problems with that, or?
Well, most of the prisons have it for the most part. Although it's not so much out in the open. But it has existed throughout my years. I go back to 1986. As far as the first time I entered the prison system.
Okay.
But there are other prisons where it's just are more readily available. And I'd say the ones that are probably closer to the bigger cities are probably the ones that have more problems than the ones out further in the rural areas.
Okay, so would you say to the general public listening, because you've been in the system there, would you say to the general public listening that the prisons are, I don't know if you've ever seen any of these shows like Lock Up and 60 Days In and stuff, but would you say that the prisons are accurately portrayed in these types of shows, or would you say it's a little bit rougher than what they're showing and more like, I know these shows show, the prison floors and everything are all really nice and clean. You guys are getting all kinds of really great food and stuff. And I mean, I know from talking to, plenty of inmates across the U.S. that that's not, the way it is in there. So I just like to get that information from the actual people that I'm talking to.
Right. Well, what people see on TV is unrealistic. I mean, there may be some things that may seem to be that way on that particular day, but from one prison to another, things can be just so different. Like, where to me, this prison here is relatively a dirty prison. It's not as clean as the place that I just left from. That was noticeable to me immediately. Then there's more people.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, so it could vary from one prison, but all my years, I have been in prisons where there wasn't wasn't a lot of violence up until I think maybe 2015. I got to a prison where I was still in general population. I'm no longer in general population.
Okay.
But the level of violence that I saw there was disturbing to me because it wasn't something that I was used to, and it wasn't something I wanted to even be around anymore. Because of the direction in which I'm going in.
Okay. And now, I know right now you, just like Jesse, are, getting involved in a lot of self-help groups. You're trying to help, the youth at risk and stuff like that. So if you were to talk to any of these kids, and I'm going to give you basically a platform to do that right now. If you were to talk to any of these kids and tell them, you saw them coming down the path that, say, you followed or Jesse followed or a lot of guys, what would you tell them, especially about going to prison?
Right. Well, what I would tell them, first off, is ask them what it is that they want out of life. And if they know what they want out of life, then I'd ask them to look at how it is they're spending what I like to say is their 168. There's 168 hours in a week. And if I'm investing that time into certain things that's going to get me what I want, then I'm well on my way. But if I'm spending time doing things that's not going to get me that, then prison could end up being somewhere I end up because I didn't invest my time wisely. Again, it's a matter of how I'm spending my day and what am I investing it in on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Would you warn them? I mean, would you tell them, look, if you're heading down this way, don't go in this direction?
Right. Well, I would use myself as an example on, my curiosity with drugs and my curiosity with other things that end up contributing to me developing a way of life that would lead me to prison. I certainly would warn them, and I would use, like I say, myself as an example. And talk about the things that I missed out on doing that I really wanted to do. Like one of my greatest passions is helping people, and that's eluded me a lot in my life because I didn't invest my time into that and then take care of whatever it was I needed to change in myself.
Well, now
that led me to.
Now, with me talking to you and putting this out there, this is a way for you to help people. That's why I'm asking, to tell people, look, you don't want to follow this life. You want to follow a life where you can actually help people. So I think we're heading down that, direction with, Jesse, and I've talked to Jeff Garcia and a couple other people, at RJ Donovan as well. And I think, I think this is a good thing. I mean, people get the wrong impression of what prison is. I mean, especially with the the difference between the state and federal prisons, and then they think that you guys are getting like top-notch food. They think that the medical care. I've actually heard people tell me that inmates get better medical care than they do, and I don't see that. I mean, some institutions you're going to get better medical care than others, but for the most part, I mean, tell me, how is the food where you're at? Is it adequate to sustain you? Do you have to, go to commissary in order to, be somewhat full? And the same thing goes with medical care. How's medical care at the facility?
Right. Well, medical care for me, I've been fortunate. I haven't had any of the horror stories that other people have had. Mm-hmm. But then, too, I haven't had the same health problems that other people have had. Mm-hmm. I mean, the worst thing I have ever had has been, a pain in my back, which turns out to be just me needing to strengthen up my core and my hip area and, the connecting muscles. Mm-hmm. Again, I haven't had those, like I say, horror stories. Dental has done me well, which has been surprising. I know some people have horror stories when it comes to that. But now, as far as the food, my biggest thing with the food is if I walk in the dining hall, I don't even usually care what it is they have. If I go to the dining hall, it's because I'm going there to eat. It's not because they're serving a particular something. Right. But generally, it's not something that I would make for myself if I was, outside of prison. And then some nights the meal is okay, but then other nights it's like, what is that?
Well, I was thinking more of along the lines of, are you getting enough to eat? I mean, I'm looking at quantity. I mean, I know
enough to eat. Yes. Well, here I can get enough to eat, not so much as on my tray, but because of other people in the dining hall. The way it's set up here, you can get extra food from people because most people go through the dining hall and they don't eat most of their food. Whereas other prisons, it's really strict on where you sit and you can't get up and move around.
Well, that's gonna.
Once you sit, you.
That's something else I was going to get at. That's something else I was going to get at as well. Is when you're sitting, whether it be the dining hall, etc. What's your level of freedom at? I mean, how much can you move around?
Right. Well, here you can move around. To me, actually, it was chaos initially when I got here. I was like, whoa, this dining room is chaos because everybody was getting up, moving around when they wanted to, whereas the two previous prisons, at Calipatria and Centinela, we were restricted. We came in and we sat in an empty seat in a row. They filled the rows and filled the seats accordingly, and you didn't get up just because you wanted to get up. We were told when to get up. And so that made it so different. Whereas, like here, you can move around. You can sit anywhere in the dining hall. You can go in any one of the two dining halls for the most part. It's a lot of freedom when it comes to that versus the two previous prisons that I've been at.
And how about regular movement throughout the compound? Are you able to move around, or is it like a controlled movement type thing?
Well, it's controlled movement. I'm usually gone most of the week because I work in a job that my regular days are off for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, although I work 5 days a week. So my movement is more so than others, but I go through a process where I go through a controlled area, but then I'm in the area of a warehouse where I have a lot of freedom and movement because of my job assignment. But for the most part...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Yeah, so for me, I have a little more movement because of work and then the programs I'm involved in. 7 days a week, my door opens relatively early for either religious service or some group or my job that I'm going to.
So this sounds like you're involved in a lot of programs to actually, to help yourself, and you're helping others at this point now. Do you do anything? I know some of the prisons have you at-risk youth come in there and they actually talk to the kids. I mean, I think San Quentin had something like that a while back. I mean, do they have anything like that at Donovan or no?
No, well, they haven't had anything like that since I've been here, and I've been here about 21 months.
Okay. So
they haven't brought any youth in that I'm aware of.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you basically how the guards treat you. I want to know have you ever been in in isolation in a hole? Did you ever wind up in there, and why? I know some people wind up because of fights, other people wind in there for other things. Have you been fortunate enough to stay out, or have you actually wound up in there?
Well, I haven't been in a lockup unit or the hole since like back in the late 80s, like 88, I believe it was.
That's good.
Would have been the last time that I was there, locked up in a accident or administration segregation. I've been able to manage to stay out of trouble, although I wasn't on the path that I'm on now. I just became really sneaky, so to speak.
Okay.
Not the way I did my time. I was relatively quiet about certain things.
So how about now? I mean, how did the guards treat you at the jail? I mean, some places the guards treat the inmates really, really hard. Some places they treat them okay. They just want to get in there, do their 8 hours, and go home. I mean, I know some places differ. So how's your place?
Well, for me, I get treated pretty fair, and that's probably for a number of reasons. I certainly believe the way I've carried myself and my involvement, my other peers. I deal with a large group of people. People I work with, people I'm in groups with, and then there's a number of people just feel free to come up.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Oh, here we go.
I know staff sees that, and I get treated, like I say, fairly. I believe I don't get mistreated, although I see other people get mistreated.
Okay, so this is going to cut us off. If there's anything that you could tell any kids that are listening to this, or even adults that are listening to this, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say to them that if the things that they want in life, to focus on those things and invest their time wisely in achieving those things. And if they need help, go to a responsible adult, somebody they feel comfortable with and talking to about the problems that they may face. And there's help out there for them. And I wish them well, and I certainly don't hope to see them here, not unless they're able to freely come in and out to speak to a group of men in here.
Thank you for listening to 15 Minutes With. I hope you've enjoyed this edition. If you have enjoyed this edition of 15 Minutes With, please hit the like and the subscribe button. You can also help me keep this show going and watch it get better by donating to paypal.me/Joe Tomaso. That address again is paypal.me/JoeTomaso. 15 Minutes With is constantly looking for new content to upload and new people to interview. If you would like to share your story, or if there's someone you would like to see us interview, please email us at insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. That email address again is insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. Last but not least, again, if you like to support this channel, please subscribe and hit the like button. Until next time, we'll be seeing you